Actor Jonathan Majors assaulted and harassed his then-girlfriend Grace Jabari. That's now a legally true statement after a New York jury found Majors guilty of 2 of his 4 misdemeanor criminal charges. And yet, the court of public opinion remains undecided on whether they believe Majors actually assaulted Jabari, something that may stem from a split verdict on the multiple assault and harassment charges. Let's break down what we know happened and the charges brought against the ex-Marvel actor, and at the end, I want you to tell me what you think. We'll begin with what we know happened. On March 25th, 911 received a call from Jonathan Majors after he said he found his then-girlfriend unconscious in their apartment.
What happened exactly? Do you know?
No, I don't know. She's unconscious. She was naked from the bottom down. She had a sweatshirt on. She's my ex-partner. We broke up. I banged on the door. I've been at the apartment for about 40 minutes now. I couldn't get in. I finally went downstairs and asked the doorman to help us. They let me in via the handyman.
When police arrived, they found multiple injuries on Jabari, including a laceration behind her ear and a fractured finger. It was revealed that the previous night, there was some sort of altercation between the couple concerning some texts on Majors' phone. The state of New York later brought 4 charges against Majors: assault in the 3rd degree, aggravated harassment in the 2nd degree, attempted assault in the 3rd degree, and harassment in the 2nd degree. Well, let's look at the assault in the 3rd degree charge first. The written explanation that the judge gave to the jury after all the evidence was in, but before the jury began its deliberations regarding the crime, the judge said this: a person is guilty of assault in the 3rd degree when, with the intent to cause physical injury to another person, he or she causes such injury to that person. In order for you to find the defendant guilty of this crime, the people, that's the state of New York, are required to prove from all the evidence in the case, beyond a reasonable doubt, both of the following elements: that on or about March 24th or March 25th in the county of New York, the defendant, Jonathan Majors, caused physical injury to Grace Jabari. And number 2, that the defendant did so with the intent to cause physical injury. Now, this crime is classified as a Class A misdemeanor, which means up to 1 year in prison if guilty, but no more. A classic example of this type of offense is simply just punching someone in the face. Second charge, attempted assault in the 3rd degree. It's actually the same as the actual assault in the 3rd degree, except you failed. This is also one of the crimes that Majors was accused of. You had the intent and you took the action, but you failed and you were unable to inflict the harm that you sought to inflict. If you do this, you're still a criminal, but also you're a failure. It's kind of a double whammy. It's a Class B misdemeanor, so it's basically the least criminal bad thing you can do when you're trying to hurt someone. And did I mention you're still a criminal and a failure? I just want to be clear on that. Majors' 3rd charge is aggravated harassment in the 2nd degree. Before a judge or a jury can convict anyone of aggravated harassment in the 2nd degree, the government must prove each element of the offense. And like many other criminal offenses, there are several ways that someone can commit aggravated harassment in the 2nd degree, including, for example, a defendant makes a threat to cause physical injury or damage the property of another person. A defendant makes a phone call with no legitimate purpose other than to harass the person that they called. I think my kids do this to me like all the time. Acting with the intent to harass a defendant hits, shoves, or kicks another person, causing injury. This is also a Class A misdemeanor, so up to 1 year in prison if convicted. And finally, we have Majors' 4th charge, harassment in the 2nd degree. This is what New York says. Under our law, a person is guilty of harassment in the 2nd degree when, with the intent to harass, annoy, or alarm another person, he or she, and then you have to select one of the appropriate alternatives here, strikes, shoves, kicks, or otherwise subjects such other person to physical contact, or attempts or threatens to do the same. Follows a person in or about a public place or places, or engages in a course of conduct or repeatedly commits acts which alarm or seriously annoy such other person and which serve no legitimate purpose. Now let's define no legitimate purpose. It's the absence of expression of ideas or thoughts other than the threats and or intimidating or coercive conduct. The judge says to the jury, in order for you to find the defendant guilty of this crime, the people are required to prove from all the evidence in the case, beyond a reasonable doubt, both of the following 2 elements: that on or about March 24th or March 25th in the county of New York, the defendant, Jonathan Majors, and then select the appropriate alternative, struck, shoved, kicked, or otherwise subjected Grace Jabari to physical contact or attempted or threatened to do the same, or followed Grace Jabari in or about a public place or places, or engaged in a course of conduct or repeatedly committed acts which alarmed or seriously annoyed Jabari and which served no legitimate purpose, and the defendant did so with the intent to harass, annoy, or alarm. If you find that people have proven beyond a reasonable doubt both of these elements, then the judge says you must find the defendant guilty of this crime. And if you find that people have not proved beyond a reasonable doubt either one or both of those elements, you must find the defendant not guilty of this crime. Okay, so that's a sampling of the jury instructions that the judge gave the jury to work with in this exact case. Throughout the almost 3-week trial, evidence was presented by both sides. This included surveillance footage of an on-foot pursuit between Majors and Jabari, and photos of the injuries, texts from Majors' phone, and a recording of an argument between Jabari and Majors.
Do you really know Pacey? Do you really?
Yes.
Then how dare you come home drunk and disturb the peace of our house when we have a plan? I would like to get to Coretta Scott King. You know who that is? That's Martin Luther King's wife. Michelle Obama. Barack Obama's wife.
I know, I'm not. I shouldn't have gone out. I'm sorry.
I'm a great man. A great man. I am doing great things, not just for me, but for my culture and for the world. That is actually the position I'm in.
So with over 2 weeks of argument and testimony and evidence, what was going on? Why did the jury only convict on 2 of the 4 charges? Basically, this was a he said, she said, but the she said side was a little stronger because the evidence corroborated some of what she said, but not everything of what she said. Now, normally in a situation like this, when there's evidence on both sides, a jury's gonna wanna split the baby. And here's what I mean. Each potential conviction is binary. You're either guilty or not. But there are lesser included offenses, which is a crime that's like inside of, but not as bad as the crime that's charged. And a lesser included offense is a great way to resolve evidentiary ambiguity. I mean, they're not supposed to be used for that, but they are. And what I mean is, when a jury is not totally convinced a defendant committed a crime or why he committed a crime, they're supposed to acquit. But lesser included offenses are a tool that juries use, even though they're not supposed to resolve ambiguity. Juries, they know something happened. They just don't know what or why. And so it becomes rough justice. Or maybe it's not. And in keeping with that ambiguity, the jury ruled for Majors on 2 claims and only convicted him of assault in the 3rd degree and harassment in the 2nd degree. This makes it a legal fact that Majors assaulted his girlfriend when he hurt her on the night of the 24th or early in the morning of the 25th. Because he successfully hurt her, he was not convicted of the attempted assault charge. In regards to the differences between the harassment degrees, Majors was convicted of the lesser charge. This means the jury believes that Majors did harass Jabari, but not to the extent that they could have convicted him of aggravated harassment. In a statement to NBC News, Majors attorney Priya Chowdhury said the following the jury verdict. She said, "It's clear that the jury did not believe Grace Jabari's story of what happened in the SUV because they found that Majors did not intentionally cause any injuries to her. We're grateful for that. We are disappointed, however, that despite not believing Ms. Jabari, the jury nevertheless found that Mr. Majors was somehow reckless while she was attacking him." Now, when I first read this quote, I chuckled because lawyers. But then I chewed on it for a little while and I realized that maybe it wasn't the over-the-top stupid thing to say as I first thought it was at first glance. Because I think that upon reflection, we probably got an instance of a jury not being sure what happened, but also not wanting to side against a victim who had significant bodily injuries. And knowing that Majors did something, but not sure what or why, they convicted him gently. As you most likely seen in the news cycle, Majors was swiftly dropped by Marvel after the jury verdict, after already being dropped by his talent manager and his publicity firm. And now that we've broken down what we know happened and all of Majors' charges and how the trial ended, it is finally time for you to tell me what you think. That's right, it's Pro Se Opinion time, baby! I want you to drop your thoughts on Jonathan Majors' convictions and his acquittals and his rapidly disappearing career in the comments down below. I want to know what you think. And don't forget the subscribe button. It's like right there. No, by your thumb. A little left, right there. Just press it.